Anybody bust through something, fell over, and had the courage, the knowledge, the background to do a forward roll and stand up and then look behind? Anybody do that? No. Well, we're going to try one here in a minute. No, I'm just kidding. We won't make you do that. Mind of a champion. Anybody resonate with what Chris just went through? What if we applied half of what you just heard in the last 18 minutes? Think about it. Think about it. So we had the heart, we had the mind, now we have the John. Mr. Wittry. Mr. Wittry is described as a thoughtful leader, powerful coach, and a master facilitator with a gift for uncovering the heart of the matter. If there's anybody that knows how to get to the heart of the matter, it's Mr. Wittry. He has a passion for unraveling challenges so things work. Married for 30 years, a father of 2 adult children, John is a coach, a consultant to many senior executives and teams and organizations, both large and small. And the co-founder of high-performing teams consulting group, John's experience in leading and grooming leaders is expansive. Today, he brings to us a portion of his own journey to expand his leadership capacity and the leadership in others. Ladies and gentlemen, John Wittry.
I'm wondering if I don't say anything, if that clock won't start. What you can't see up here is there's this clock that's counting down 18 minutes, and there it goes. Thank you so much for having me here. These have been great presentations, and I've been on this journey called leadership for, I think when I came out of the womb. I was raised by a general in the Air Force, very, very strong command and control style of leadership. And beyond that, my mother was even stronger than him. So very, very 2 influential people. Over the course of those 30, 35 plus years, I've looked at my definition or my context for leadership, and I've changed it repeatedly, and I've finally settled on something that inspires me. As a leader, all I want to do is inspire people to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and to become more. So I shamelessly stole this from John Quincy Adams. But I love this sense of, as a leader, of being inspirational. How do I really shift people? How do I really move people forward in life? The other nice thing about this definition of leadership is it kind of includes everyone. So one of the things that I always wondered about is I've always considered myself a leader. In every single role, in every place I show up, it doesn't matter whether it's a grocery store or an executive boardroom, I've always seen myself as a leader. But from this wrong button. From this context of leadership, that really expands who all leads. So my guess is somewhere on this slide, you see yourself and you see where you lead. My 2 adult children happen to be sitting in the audience, and what they may or may not know is because they've inspired me and continue to inspire me, they actually lead me. And so I love this sense of leadership being about inspiring others to be more. Then there's the place in my world today, right now, that I want to have a major impact. And these 2 statistics represent that space I like to play. In any corporation today, you will see or hear this whole concept of lack of employee engagement being a really critical problem. And this says 70% of people are disengaged. But the reality is, current research is that number is getting higher and higher and higher. So I have an intention and I have a driving purpose to help leaders be better leaders, because I would like to see these engagement numbers be more positive. I'd like to shift that. So the other place that I like to play in is in this world of relationships. How do I help? How do I inspire people to have really rock star relationships? Not relationships like a rock star, that probably wouldn't be good, but really to have fantastic relationships, a high degree of love and affinity for one another. Now, I am completely dissatisfied with the divorce rate. Now, the nice thing is it is coming down, but the reality is I want to inspire people of how to have fantastic relationships. In order to make an impact in these areas, I have to grow. As a leader, I have to increase my capacity, and what I would like you to be watching for is where in the rest of this presentation can you see an opportunity where you can increase your capacity to inspire other people and be inspired. I am known in the Aconcagua Partnership as the guy about concepts and models. I love concepts and models. Models help me frame my thinking. They help me have a grounding point for things that sometimes are otherwise ethereal. Johari window was introduced way back in 1955. It's a fantastic tool to help us understand what it means to be a conscious leader, completely aware of our surroundings, living on the soul line. I love Stephen's presentation of the soul line this morning. If you look at this first window, it's called the open area. This is the area in my leadership where I know myself, really clear on who I am, what I stand for, and what I'm about. And it's also the area where other people know me. So ultimately, this window is about being in relationship. If I can lead from a place of relationship and love, high degrees of affinity, my experience is I have a lot better capacity for leadership and a lot better results on the goal line. Now, increasing my open area obviously decreases my hidden area. One of the interesting things about the exercise that Stephen took you through during the keynote is anytime you did your exchange around the table, basically you were disclosing who you are, what you think, how you want to be, and that increases your open area and reduces your hidden area. So how do I help leaders, and how do I reduce my hidden area? How can I truly be known? Look, I don't want people to follow the image of John Wittry. I'm not interested in that. I want people to want to be inspired by who John Wittry truly is, with all of my successes and all of my failures, with all of my strong suits and all of my weak suits. The other part of the Johari window that I'm trying to change is my blind spots. So again, all I'm looking at is how do I increase my open area? And so to increase my open area, I have to receive feedback from people about the blind spots that I have. And if I'm helping other people increase their open area, I have to be really skilled at giving feedback. So I want to do a deeper dive on some of the tools to increase our open area. Disclosure is one of the key ways that we develop a relationship and stay in relationship with somebody. How much can I make known to you about who I am and how I think and how I operate? On high-performing teams, what I often see on the left side is all of this stuff that people aren't talking about, that people have bottled up, that people are unwilling to expose. The highest performing teams I interact with are incredibly skilled at talking about that stuff, putting it out on the table. They don't hide. They have fierce conversations. It's no different in personal relationships. My wife and I have been really successfully married for 30 years. One of the things that we've done is we live from a place of full disclosure. We don't hide anything. My question to you is, with your team and with your relationships, are there things that you're hiding that would you be better served by just exposing, by putting out there and begin talking about? Because when you start creating your future, it's better to do it from a really clean space. Practicing hiding is not necessarily a good idea. You don't want to get good at hiding. My encouragement to you today is practice disclosure. Learn what it takes to really speak from your heart, to bring issues that have been bothering you and put them out on the table. How do you bring them out into the light and really address them? This is true in our professional relationships, high-performing teams, and this is also true in our personal relationships as well. So disclosure is absolutely key. You know the funny thing about the unsaid, the stuff we think we're hiding, the stuff that we think we've got bottled up? It comes out in body language. It's unspoken. It's the rolling of the eyes. It's the crossing of the arms. It's all of the things we see, and then we're watching these people with the unsaid, and we're wondering what's going on. Get really good at talking about it, creating from a clear space. The other way to help others create an open space and to help you create your open space is asking questions. Now, this has been a really interesting journey for me. So I was raised to not ask questions. It was nosy, and it's none of your business. The favorite thing coming out of actually both of my parents' mouths is, that's none of your business. So I got really, really good at not asking questions. And then I met my wife. I swear, for 2 years, she did nothing while we were dating. She did nothing but ask me questions. Question after question after question after question. And at one point, I said, I don't get this. What are you doing? And she says, what do you mean, what am I doing? What's with all the questions? She looks at me, and stone cold, she looks and says, well, how else am I supposed to get to know you? Like, oh. So I had to, simple things, right? And so in many ways, I had to reinvent myself. I actually had to learn how to ask well-informed questions. Interestingly enough, Annie McGee Stinson, who is in the room today, was really instrumental in helping me learn that concept. And I have a data bank of 500 questions in my computer, really great questions that I've heard other people ask, and I just keep adding them to my data bank, and I routinely review that. Why? Because I know that questions, well-formed questions, help me in my relationship with you. They increase that open area. So I want to practice that. I want to get really, really good at that. If I have to cheat and use a tool of questions, I'm going to cheat and use a tool of a bunch of questions. So I have disclosure and asking questions to increase my open area. Then we have this wonderful thing called giving feedback. I'd like to give you some feedback. What's your first reaction when you hear somebody say that? Yeah, oh my God. So one of the things that I've noticed in the work that I've been doing for years is how much productivity and time lost occurs because we aren't straight with people. We don't help them see their blind spots. We haven't gone about creating a relationship such that we can give each other feedback anytime, any place. And so one of the things that I challenge you and I challenge my clients on is practice giving really effective feedback. Not giving feedback, whether it's in your personal world or in your professional world, is tolerating. One of my favorite questions when people are talking about needing more headcount is, before you hire any more people, I want everybody to put the names on this whiteboard of what performance we're tolerating, poor performance we're tolerating. And before we add more headcount, more FTEs, which is hugely expensive, let's go after the poor performance. Let's give feedback, let's raise the performance, or let's get the right butts in the right seats. There is another phenomenon around giving feedback that is quite unique. Have you ever noticed that when people are giving feedback, they use a tremendous amount of words? And they talk and talk and talk, and a lot of it's because they're nervous about giving you feedback and being straight with you. The problem with more words in feedback is that you lose your message. The people can't listen for that long. That's a longer attention span than they have. And so I've come across a really nice formula for giving feedback, at least until you practice it and get comfortable. And it's based in observation and impact. So if I'm giving Stephen McGee feedback, what I'm going to do is say, Stephen, well, first I'm going to ask permission. No one wants unsolicited feedback. So I won't use a real example, Stephen.
He was shaking his head no.
Yeah, no, I'm out. My observation is, and then I'm going to be as descriptive as possible. Really, really descriptive. Then the next piece is, and the impact on me and or the team is. So observation and impact. The nice thing is, if I say, Stephen, my observation is blah, 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 and the impact of this is such and such, now I can stop talking. I can let the person absorb it, and then they can decide what they're going to do with it. Can I have more context? Can you give me other examples? But instead of me just going on and on and on about my feedback, I can just be really straight and really crisp. Giving feedback in our personal and professional lives is an incredibly important skill. Then there's receiving feedback. So this was never a strong suit of mine, because I always thought that if I was getting feedback, I had somehow failed. I had feedback collapsed with failure. Then another wise person also in the room said to me one day, there is no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. So now I start looking at feedback as a gift. Anytime, anywhere, however they choose to do it, if they give me feedback, I view it as a gift. Now what I'm left with is feedback in my hands, or wearing it like a coat. And I have to decide, am I going to respond or am I going to react? If you react to feedback, meaning you challenge them, you argue with them, you take it personal, what is the likelihood they're going to give you feedback again in the future? Poor. So what I want to do is learn how to respond to feedback. And I'll tell you the greatest response you can have. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the risk at giving me feedback. I'll look into that. And just leave it alone. You don't have to get into this dialogue. You don't have to take it personal. The person took the risk to give you feedback. So now you get to choose. And I like to look at feedback on like clothing. Somebody gives me a piece of feedback. Will gives me a piece of feedback. I put it on like this coat. If the coat fits great and it feels good and I can see how it would make me perform better, I'm going to wear it. If the coat doesn't fit, I'm just going to take it back off. I'm going to put it on the shelf and I'm going to move on. There's no sense getting all wrapped around the axle. Will took a chance. He just is trying to help me increase my open area. He took a risk. I don't have to view it as any more than that. So, how do we increase or expand our leadership? How do we increase our open area? I will tell you, and maybe my brain is warped, but I can almost always take this kind of stuff back to time. We have to make the time. Stephen talked about technology and how technology helps or hinders things. Please don't give feedback via text message or email. That would not be really effective feedback. So I'd like to encourage you to make the time to, one, invest in learning. One of the best things that you can do is workshops like this. Learn about communication skills. Learn about receiving feedback and giving feedback. How do you expand your leadership ability? How do you invest in yourself, taking care of yourself first, as Chris said, before you take care of others? Then the next thing, and I'm maybe because I'm a coach, I believe in having a coach, but I think having someone in your life, a coach or a mentor or a really good friend, that is willing to take the risk and tell you exactly what they see. To hold up the mirror in front of your face, give you really clear, constructive feedback, somebody you can be in relationship with over a long period of time. We all have blind spots. I have huge blind spots. So I have a coach. Interestingly enough, I have a wife who doesn't hesitate to point out my blind spots. And the difference is I take it well. I say thank you, as opposed to it being the next fight of the week. Leverage group. One of the beautiful things about the Aconcagua Partnership for the last 2 years that I've been involved in it is it's a group of people that asks really well-formed questions to get to know me better, to develop trust, to help me learn about myself, and it develops that relationship. And they are not hesitant to give feedback either. Well, and I should be careful because I also am not hesitant to give feedback to them. But for 2 years, we've been expanding that open area, becoming stronger and stronger leaders. There are great groups out of there to leverage and do this for yourself. Practice communication skills, practice feedback, both giving it and receiving it. Practice these things that you're learning and taking from each of these talks. Look, giving feedback, asking questions, disclosing to people, it's a risk. If I disclose something to Will, I run the risk of Will rejecting me. I'm willing to take that risk. If it'll help me grow, if it'll help me deepen my relationship with you, I'm going to disclose. It also requires trust. Now, I used to think it requires me trusting you. That takes too long for me. I'm not the most patient person in the world, so I'm going to assume trust with you. What I'm going to work on is trusting myself. Trusting myself to receive feedback. Trusting myself to give really effective feedback. Trusting myself to handle the rejection that may come by disclosing things. So trust becomes a major component. These next two things are very tactical. I've been in the corporate world for the last 15 years doing productivity work. Do you know that the second most common canceled appointment on your calendar or your one-on-ones? How many of you can relate to that? You see your one-on-ones come and go. Same with date night, but just a different context. It's interesting, the very meetings, sorry to call date night a meeting, but let's just keep it in that framework. The very thing we set up on our calendars to have really great conversations, to increase our open area, to reduce the hidden area, to give and receive feedback is the second most common canceled on our calendar on our appointment. So today, I really want you to reconsider. How are you leading other people? Are you spending time with your children so that you can develop that open area? Are you spending time with your partner so you can develop that open area? Do your employees know that you can talk, or that they can talk to you, that they can disclose? And are they getting to know you better because you're disclosing? Are you developing those relationships that you are absolutely going to need when the times get tough? See, we cancel our one-on-ones, and then all of our meetings are when things go south. So they all energy packed. And so now the only time we're interacting with one another is when the stakes are really high. That's a tough time to be developing relationship, to be honest with you. So make the time. That's it. I think it's it. I keep pushing the wrong button. There are 3 questions in your book. From this presentation, where do you see yourself as a leader? Based on this, have you expanded your vision or your sight of where you can see that you actually are a leader? Based on all of these presentations, what are your key takeaways? I would really encourage you to write those things down. And then finally, in all of your takeaways, how can you move those takeaways into action? If you don't put some action around your key takeaways from this day, it will be a really great day, but it won't necessarily create transformation in your life. Love to answer any questions during the panel, so if there's things that you want to know more about, the Johari window that I put up there is in the book, as was the diagram with the 2 circles. Thank you so much.